it.
You okay, that's it?
I
Have
am
your
okay.
coffee?
Oh, yes. All right. So we're rolling. Yeah.
Fahad.
Yes.
So here we are now in the, what you might call the Manhattan of Dubai,
Correct.
as one of my old clients described it to me once.
They did.
Yeah, I used to work with Dubai Properties, and it was when all this was being built, and they were trying to really generate a lot of interest in Business Bay. And actually now, well, to be honest, ever since the canal opened, to me it's become a more exciting place to be.
So this was Manhattan, and that I assume is the River Hudson for your client, right?
I don't know about that. I think they just thought there's lots of tall buildings. Let's call it something sexy.
But there's lots of buildings all over Dubai.
Yes. Well, anyway, it's just.
Well, they built it. They like
Exactly,
it.
they wanted to own it, and I guess
Yeah.
it was a bit like, well, it's a non-EMAR, so let's make it something unique to. Anyway, never mind. And I always think when we come past the Vision Tower
Right.
at the bottom there, when you drive in, that was where their office used to be, I think. And then so whenever I drive in, I'm like, because I've been in Dubai. You've been here longer than me, I know, but
Yeah.
I've been in Dubai for 10 years, and I remember coming. I sound like an old man. I remember when all this were fields.
Mm-hmm.
I remember coming down this way 10 years ago to meet a friend in a Japanese restaurant on Sheikh Zayed Road,
Okay.
and I took the metro and I got off at the wrong stop, which was Business Bay,
Which was a desert.
walking around, no roads.
Wow.
Some of the towers were here, the ones nearest Sheikh Zayed Road, but no actual roads connecting them.
Okay.
So it was not the best experience. So I arrived quite hot and dirty.
Well, the best thing about Business Bay is we've got the roads, we've got a canal, we've got a cycling track, enough space for people to jog and walk, but no parking.
Ah,
Yes.
so you're fine if you, well, a bit like some people do. They live here and they work here,
Yes.
and you can just either taxi short distance or
Yes.
walk or whatever.
Yes.
Or if you work here, you've got parking in the building, so that's not too bad.
Yes,
but to come and experience
Yes,
from
and
outside.
so as soon as you enter, there's a big sign that says, "Thou shall not park your car."
Do not stop in Business Bay.
Do not stop in
Just
business.
enjoy it.
Yes.
Enjoy the idea of it.
Drive past Manhattan.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
I know it is. We're hoping and we're praying that parking emerges,
Oh,
like
really?
so many other things nowadays. There's a lot of land that you can see which can be used for a short time for parking for visitors and
As
the general
in, what
public.
about these dirty areas here? Like
They're
they're
all-
all fenced off, aren't they?
They're all plots, so they're all supposed to be buildings in the near future or
Yeah,
in the future.
But
or-
for now, it's a car park for now.
Yes. So, which is
Fantastic.
yeah,
Fantastic.
which brings us to
Well, it doesn't bring us anywhere, really, does it?
There's no interesting segue into our
But
topic.
welcome back
Yes.
to the Fact Check podcast. You may be experiencing this in glorious Technicolor
Yes.
video.
Correct.
I don't know when Technicolor came out, in the 70s maybe?
When we had
I think
CRT2.
Thunderbirds.
Thunderbird
Was in glorious Technicolor, they used to say.
Yeah.
Or you may be just listening to the audio podcast if I can actually get the connection with Apple Podcasts
In Dolby Atmos
to work.
surround sound.
in Dolby Atmos.
Yeah.
Sorry, and we're speaking to you through this beautiful little mic here. But you mentioned Dolby Atmos there. I don't know, because I have a we don't really have a fixed topic today, so I
We
guess
don't,
we're
we
we're going freestyle. But you mentioned Dolby Atmos, and I watched a video this morning on a guy, because Apple have just released their new HomePod Mini.
Right.
Because the HomePod came out a few years ago, and it was big, and it wasn't a very smart speaker, because Siri's not very good. Unfortunately, I'm a huge Apple fan. I spend a lot in the ecosystem, and I love their products. The privacy and the security, I'm completely with that, and I think within their ecosystem things just work beautifully. Switching between, if you upgrade your phone, you can update immediately, etc., etc. All beautiful. And I saw a video this morning but the HomePod itself, Siri, it can't compete with the Amazon Echo or the Google Nest Home
Or the Nest.
or whatever, because the voice assistant is just not very good, I don't think.
Yeah, and the funny thing about the Nest is, and I've got one, the Nest Hub, if you are on a Wi-Fi network, anyone can connect to the Nest Hub. So
That's a good thing.
that is very bad.
Okay.
Especially, I wake up in the middle of the night with someone playing their rap music on my Nest Hub.
Really? You
Yes.
can't block that.
I cannot.
You must be able to.
I cannot. The only way to block that is to unplug the device.
You're kidding me.
I am not.
I thought you were setting that up as a good thing because it's more open. Because this is what
Yes.
a lot of people say about Google and Android and.
So
you know,
apparently, okay. So
But this is
full,
too open.
full disclosure, because I live in a hotel
Yeah.
and this is on a public Wi-Fi.
Fahad is living the dream.
I live in a cheap motel, bed and breakfast. Actually, no breakfast, only a bed, and and only one towel a week. So,
Oh wow. Okay.
so jokes apart. So, but that's the problem. If you're on a public Wi-Fi network, because I was not able to connect the device directly because there's two-factor authentication when you're connecting to it.
Okay.
So the hotel guys came and set me up. The problem is because it's on a public Wi-Fi network, anyone can use my Nest Hub device
If they're logged into the hotel Wi-Fi.
if they're logged into hotel
That's
Wi-Fi.
amazing.
It's not. That's why I
No,
have
no.
to.
I mean, in a bad way. Sorry. That's,
It is. It's really scary because the first time I didn't realize it, I woke up in the middle of the night with someone literally playing their playlist, blasting it at the top of the volume in my bedroom right next to me. And I woke up in the middle of the night,
Wow.
flabbergasted.
Can you see who that? You can't see who that is.
I
You
cannot. I've
'cause
been
they could
trying.
be coming in from any angle.
But now I know
signal.
that my neighbors have horrible taste in music.
How-
Really horrible.
That's amazing. So, I mean, this is not an endorsement or a disendorsement.
It
But it was a
is.
surprise for you, wasn't it?
It is just presenting the facts as they are.
But
This
that
is
could
what
be. But even because of the hotel Wi-Fi, that could be the same even for an Apple device. Assuming that they are a bit more closed in,
So I tried.
would you be able to put an extra layer of security on
So
that?
what I thought was, in my defense, I thought that would be payback
Very
to my
weak
neighbors.
defense. Oh, sorry.
I looked up at all the
you
devices
started hacking
and
in.
I said, "It's payback time." And there were a bunch of Apple TV devices over there.
What did you do? You took them all down.
I wanted to play Gangnam Style on someone's random
Oh,
Apple
fantastic.
TV. Didn't
or Baby
work.
Shark, maybe.
Or Baby Shark for
Yeah,
that matter. That's
yeah.
how they're ranking up their play levels. But I wasn't able to do that on the Apple TVs because apparently it's an iOS thingy. You need to be signed into your Apple Store
So it's very
account.
protected.
So it's
and-
fairly protected, which kind of gives Apple TV the edge. I'm not promoting a device over here for.
But should any of these companies want to sponsor or endorse
Yes,
the
yes.
Fact Check podcast,
Yeah.
please get in touch.
Exactly. So for all the people out there living the life, living in a hotel, buy an Apple TV.
Oof.
Brought to you by
Oof.
Apple.
Oh, ching! That's really okay. But the video I saw,
Hmm.
he was talking about Dolby Atmos and the HomePod.
Yeah, I
Vinny.
love it how we have to come back to our
No, no,
original topic.
No, but that's because as we walked into the studio with the great view,
Yeah.
I saw a connected camera that you have here
Yes.
in the office.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily need a camera except because we have a maid that comes in to our apartment and should the family start growing, we'd want probably a nanny cam
Mhm.
and different things. So I'm thinking about in this Apple ecosystem, what is the HomeKit like? And I think it's quite easy to set up, and whether you're using an iPad or on the Mac, you can use your Apple TV. I think as like your Google Home, like your
Yes, you can.
your HQ on HomeKit. But the devices are more limited, but that may be because of this high level of security as well.
Maybe.
But I'm thinking about getting the HomePod Mini because it's only
Hmm.
I think it comes in at $99 in the US, and I think it'll be here by the end of the month.
Okay.
I mean, Apple have just had a series of events in the last month or so where they've been announcing new phones, the new laptop.
Yes, the new MacBook
with the
the M1 chip.
the M1 chip, which
Yes.
I'm excited about. Although I don't need a new laptop. So.
Does that sound like a particular highway in?
Yeah, the
the
M1
UK?
is the road that connects where I'm from with London.
Okay.
Takes you to the north.
Okay.
So yeah.
Is
It
there
could
is that
be-
a nod to? I don't think Apple
to
would.
to Tim Cook's Yorkshire roots. Yes, I think so. I think he's a proud Yorkshireman.
Oh, is he?
No, he's not.
He's not. He's proud for something else, but not being
He's
from
proud of
Yorkshire.
many things.
Yes.
Rainbows. Yes. No. Anyway, but the HomePod Mini, it's one of those things. So I think now if you've got your phone nearby and you've got
Uh-huh.
Apple Music,
Uh-huh.
you can just tap the HomePod Mini and it will start playing the music
Really?
that you've got there on it. So it's the ecosystem. So if you've bought into it like I have, then all these things, it's a bit like magic. And you got this Siri voice assistant, which is terrible. I remember when it first launched.
Mm-hmm.
Was it with the iPhone 4? I think I had my 4S in.
It was the one with the button, though. I don't even remember.
Yeah, they had
the
buttons.
Home,
Well, they had a button until 8.
Yes.
This one's an 8. Still
Oh,
got a
yes,
button.
correct.
No, I think it was the iPhone 4. I got the 4S and Siri was on it.
Mhm.
Didn't understand a word I said, and yet my Brazilian colleague at the time understood him perfectly. So I don't know what's wrong with my intonation. Obviously, the wrong person to be co-hosting a podcast with.
That, or they say that the way AI works is it gets to know you better the more you talk to the device. So I guess you were just trying to break the ice with your phone, or Siri for that matter, and Siri wasn't taking any bullshit.
No bullshit.
So, yeah.
No bullshit.
She's like, you need to talk to me a bit more.
This
I need to
sounds-
get to know you better. Only then I'll start doing.
Sounds like we're going on a date with
I
my
know.
with my voice assistant.
Yeah, that's what makes it more organic and more human-like. Bless you, Siri.
Connected lifestyle.
Again, this program is brought to you by Apple.
But the YouTube video I saw this morning was about he was actually watching The Mandalorian
Uh-huh.
with a HomePod. It's actually a normal HomePod at either side
Mm-hmm.
instead of a soundbar.
Mm-hmm.
And he said because it's Dolby Atmos enabled, the audio quality was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the minis are obviously less powerful, but equally as awesome. On the mini though,
Mhm.
sorry, and I'm not going to. Maybe I will go a bit crazy here. But if you have a mini in various rooms,
Mm-hmm.
you can say, "Hey Siri, what is it? It's not page or there's a command.
Broadcast.
It might be Hey Siri, broadcast, and you can send a voice message to every speaker.
Okay.
So if there's one in the kitchen, one
So
in
they're all
the,
playing The Mandalorian on all the speakers?
No. Sorry, the
Okay.
Mandalorian, something else. But you
Okay.
can basically send a voice message or a text message basically
Okay.
to every speaker. So there's one in everyone's bedroom.
Uh-huh.
Say you have a big house, which not everybody does here,
Yeah.
but it probably wouldn't work in your
In my
bachelor pad.
small
Um,
dingy.
but if you had maybe 4 or 5 around the place, maybe one in the kitchen, one in the living room,
Uh-huh.
and what have you, you've got maybe, I don't know, 5 kids all over the place, and they're all doing their own thing, but you
Uh-huh.
can actually just page everybody at once.
Really?
It's quite cool. Maybe, I don't know, is that weird?
It's pretty weird. A, I wouldn't be buying so many devices. It's just too much
Okay.
investment.
It is a bit too much. Yeah.
B, I'd rather
But you can have
shout out loud.
and you can pair the speakers. So it's a bit like I mean Sonos has been doing it for years, but like the
Yeah.
connected audio in the house, and you can get them all connected up playing the same thing, or just
Even a lot of apps. So I know a local homegrown, well, from the region, Angami, for that matter, has
Ah.
been having that feature where you could literally play the same music, the track off multiple devices, right? So you could.
What with one account you can do that. Or?
So I think you can just pair with your friend or whatever,
Oh, okay.
and then it becomes I don't know, maybe it's called the party mode or whatever,
Okay.
and then everyone's just playing the same track. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, so
Oh, Angami's an interesting one because they obviously, I mean, yeah, you got Spotify and
Mhm.
Apple Music and Deezer is what from France.
Yes.
Then you got here. We were looking to me and a client of mine were looking to partner with Angami to launch a song. I think they have some quite interesting stuff because I remember when Game of Thrones was on, they were doing a deal, I think,
Mhm.
with OSN
okay.
to bring Game of Thrones to their users
Oh really?
at a discounted
Okay.
rate. So I actually downloaded the app because I
Okay.
saw this deal. It was like instead of maybe 10 dirhams, I don't know why I'm looking to save 5 dirhams a month, but anyway,
Right.
it appealed to me.
Right.
Being from the north of England, I like to save the odd dirham or
We
fill
all,
wherever
being
I can.
from the subcontinent, every penny matters to me.
But they're quite innovative, I think, in their
Right.
approach. They're thinking of things in a bigger picture. And now they're starting to do the podcasts, which
Yes.
obviously Apple has a big global share. Spotify's investing a lot in as
Mhm.
well. and now Angami are doing more. Campaign Middle East, your friends that published you a few weeks ago, they've launched their podcast only on Angami.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, which is an interesting idea, and it shows that they're from the Campaign Middle East. They're in the region. They're supporting a local channel, a local platform. I think it's a bit limiting. I
think so too, because we also have to keep in mind the preconceived notion of the consumer. I've used Anghami, and I know a lot of people. Whenever you're on Anghami, you'll always assume or you'll always expect it to be a music streaming platform. I have seen the podcasts pop up on the interface, but to be honest, I just ignore.
Well, because I'm a big fan of Campaign.
Yeah.
I have. Well, it's my industry, our industry. So I read it every day actually across various channels, both the magazine, the website. Their Instagram account is constantly at the top of my feed as well. When I saw that they'd launched a podcast, I went. So this wasn't a discovery. I actually went specifically to find the podcast on Angami, and I couldn't.
Oh, okay.
Nowhere. And it's maybe because I'm not a subscriber to the platform. That may be the case.
All right.
But I would have thought there'd be a layer that allows you to search. Because at least on Apple it's free, isn't it?
True.
I think you need the iPhone, so you sort of buy into. Can you use just the iPhone, or is it everywhere?
You can use
Apple Podcasts.
Yeah. No. I think the podcasts can
Spotify is multi.
Yeah.
But I think podcasts.
Spotify actually hit it big because they had Joe Rogan doing his podcast on the Spotify platform.
Well, they paid for it.
Yeah, they did. That really helped. So I think that's a good
was a sign of their intent, wasn't it? The huge investment.
And especially like Anghami should get us on their podcasting platform. That's the.
I think there's local. I mean the I don't know if you saw a rival agency to mine, but they operate in a different place. They do more broadcasts, PR,
all right,
and content. So maybe more your rival, actually.
All right.
So video news releases.
You want to join forces and take them down?
Of course. But
they watch out, we're coming after you guys.
But this agency released a report, and they do regular updates on the state of the podcast market in the UAE and in Saudi. Really good insights. The ones that are most relevant to our growing audience is that in Saudi and the UAE, the podcast market is growing exponentially year on year, and the kind of people that listen are the kind of people that will stay brand loyal and that have more disposable income. It's basically there's a lot of insights there, and maybe in the blog post to accompany this, we'll actually do a link to the report because it's quite interesting. Shouldn't really give any extra exposure to our competition, but it's a great report and would justify a lot of for brands to invest in this particular platform. And Angami should be doing that too.
Right.
Either supporting local people like us,
like
potentially.
Us. Stars like us, homegrown stars.
Stars.
Yes.
What have you? But anyway.
or potential influencers, but not the ones we're talking about. The real influencers.
Oh.
Yeah.
So when people see that, they're actually influenced.
Yes, they are.
They don't just look at it and go, oh, wow.
Yeah. And people like us who have a more global impact and global outreach on things, as evident in our phenomenal statistics.
You will be editing all this nonsense out, won't you?
No, it's a fact. It's a fact check podcast.
Yes. Because let's not forget, this is the fact check podcast.
Yes, so it's a fact.
So that's kind of the preamble.
Yes.
Kind of done with. So we've kind of
the
caught up on
longest preamble ever.
because we're lacking direction, focus, or a theme.
No, we're just.
But there's just a lot been going on, and we maybe haven't been holding ourselves to doing a recording as often as we should.
True.
But another thing during this week, in direct correlation with the name of our podcast, the Fact Check Podcast, was a great feature that I saw on Twitter. I think it was just today actually, and I posted it on LinkedIn and Twitter. Is that I made the cardinal error of on Twitter. There was a CNN story, and I just saw the headline because I'd read about it before. There's was he 21-year-old chap with Down syndrome who completed the Ironman or an Ironman tournament when he's the first person ever to do this, and it's a really inspiring story. And I've been following the updates in the news and how this is an amazing achievement. And CNN did a story on it, and it was in my Twitter feed, and I literally liked it, and then just hit retweet without reading the article.
How dare you?
I know, and I must admit I do that a little bit too often.
That's
Anyway,
despicable.
But now, instead of Twitter just allowing me to do that, it actually flashes up and says, "Don't you want to read the article first?" So it knows that I haven't clicked through.
Correct.
And a little and I can still post if I like, but a little warning comes, not a warning, but a little reminder saying maybe you should read this before you share it, which I thought was quite nice in terms of kind of fact checking, because it's very easy. I mean, there's various checks and balances in place now. WhatsApp, you can't just forward something to many people.
Yes.
And that's not related to reading it. That's just stopping oversharing and sort of snowball effect and virality. But it's very interesting. I think that Twitter brought that in.
So, from whatever we've seen in our industry, it's been pretty evident over the last, I guess, 3 odd years after all these.
Are you thinking fake news?
Yes, fake news and fact checking itself has just become a predominant phenomenon and a predominant area of focus for not just content aggregators but also content creators and newspapers and news publishing websites, and that's primarily because we've seen the mass manifestation and the adverse effects of what fake news or news without any facts check does.
Yep.
We've seen that happen, and obviously there's a lot of articles out there. We've seen it happen very recently during the elections and before the
The
election.
one 4 years ago as well.
The ones 4 years ago. After that, we had obviously
In the US, sorry.
in the U.S., correct, and we had PR firms dragged to court.
Excuse me.
Yes, not the outward thinking and forward thinking ones, but the ones. No, but on a serious note, we had agencies being dragged to court. We had social networks being brought in for congressional and Senate hearings, testifying and addressing this issue. The biggest challenge, though, is and it's really ironic because when I see all these reports out there and I see people literally believe everything they see on social media or what's being forwarded to them on WhatsApp.
Yeah. I mean, even though... So did I cut you off there?
No, you did not.
So
just a moment of...
So
the pensive is supposed to be followed by silence. ... Yes.
Sorry, but even though what I was about to share was CNN, which you could argue is a credible, authoritative news channel.
No, it's fake news as per very prominent head of state,
so it's,
who might be on his way out.
Should be on his way out.
Yes.
Anyway, but let's assume that CNN is still a reasonably good news outlet.
Oh yeah.
And I think in this era of fake news, what I remember reading, especially during the beginning of COVID, was that where entities like the BBC have been threatened to be defunded and or budget slashed and everything else, is that during COVID they were relied upon even more as a proper source of information that people were, let's say, leaning on. True. And I think the genuine sources of news have really, they're ranking their I suppose the trust aspects have gone up with in the comment. Have I drunk too much coffee today? I can't seem to get the words out. I think people trust genuinely good media outlets more than ever. This year, although it's been generally awful, I think has made people realise that actually science and fact-checked outlets of information are very important.
My only counter argument to that would be, what defines a genuine news?
Well, okay, so now I'm studying for a master's in law.
Right.
Still.
Oh boy.
Be going on for a few more years yet.
Well, now we're legally covered.
But the current module is on online media regulation, and I don't know. It's just started, so I don't know too much. But the big thing that I want to explore and get to the bottom of is, the different laws that govern the different entities. Now, the media is known as the Fourth Estate.
Okay.
After, what is it, government, church,
The armed forces? No.
something else, and the media is the fourth.
Okay.
So it's like the pillars of society
Okay.
that come together.
Mhm.
And so there are certain rules which govern the way that media should and has to report.
Right.
And things like contempt of court
Mhm.
will apply to a journalist, but not necessarily to someone just posting on social media.
Okay.
Whereas
That's a good blanket.
all the hype, it's terrible, but all the hype 10, 15 years ago when social media was really up and coming, I mean, now it's more established and is in a very different domain, the trust aspects come in. But in the beginning, everyone was very excited about, citizen journalism and all this kind of thing. And influencers kind of sprang up out of this as well. But actually, the rules that govern a bona fide journalist are very different to the rules that govern people like me and you.
Mm-hmm.
So we can maybe take a photo of something
Mm-hmm.
and say, oh my god, building on fire, or whatever. And that would be... And anyone that sees that content would have to take that with a pinch of salt.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it would be our friends and my network would see it, and they would probably go, oh right, where's that? And maybe they would look, and then maybe they would Google for a news source that would then
Right.
verify, yeah, there's been a fire in that building or whatever.
Mhm.
There is no fire over there, by the
Yeah.
way, we're okay.
Yeah.
But an actual newspaper, a journalist, they can be taken to court if they because their job is to report the facts.
True.
So when a tabloid, I mean, there was a court case. It didn't last very long, but poor old Johnny Depp. He's been in court accused of beating his wife.
Yes.
Girlfriend.
A wife, I think. Amber Heard was. I think they were married.
Sorry,
We don't know. Sorry, Johnny Depp.
fact check failing here.
Yeah, we have
Anyway,
good friends.
Johnny
Yeah.
Depp with his significant other
Yeah.
was accused of beating it. But before the case was decided, one of the newspapers in the UK ran a headline
Mhm.
saying J.K. Rowling... what was the headline? And again, I'm going to misquote this, but basically the headline said something like J.K. Rowling asks wife-beater Johnny Depp
Oh, really?
to leave the cast of Fantastic Beasts.
Oh. Wow.
Fantastic Beasts? Yeah, the film.
Yeah,
the sequel.
Yeah.
Because of this court case. And it was before the case had been decided.
Really?
So Johnny Depp takes them to court.
Uh-huh.
In fact, no, I'm wrong. It had been decided, but he took them to court for libel
Really?
and lost immediately because it was true. Because of the court case.
Okay.
It had been
Right.
decided as being true. So although it did damage his reputation,
But
he'd already
they
damaged his
were still
reputation
stating-
because they were stating, unfortunately, a fact for
Mhm.
him, which had been proved in court very, very recently. So they were technically reporting, but it was a sensational headline. So there's a fine line, and a lot of newspapers can get taken to court for things like that. But they are under those kind of laws, whereas the likes of Facebook, for including a link to that story,
Mm-hmm.
don't have any issue at all. Because to them, they're not media, they're just a platform.
Yes. And it's-
Somebody, if Fahad posts that story
Mhm.
to Facebook, I can read it and go, oh my god, Johnny Depp, wife beater, what a terrible man. That's a terrible example because technically he is a wife beater. Sorry, Johnny. But because Fahad posted it, Facebook is not liable, and that's the different domains that I mean, you would not be taken to court for publishing something that's been printed in a UK newspaper.
But haven't Facebook and Twitter started playing a more active role in terms of curbing the spread?
Not enough.
No, that I agree.
Not
I'll be
enough.
honest, and there's so many examples. We all know about the genocide and the displacement of the Rohingya Muslims in Burma, and it is linked directly to news being spread through Facebook. Ironically, and there's a very interesting report not a report but an article in The Economist, again my favorite source of all information,
Very good.
where they've quoted where they were just talking about fake news and how social media platforms are being used to spread it. Where they've quoted and mentioned the fact that Facebook is a very dominant be a source of information for people in that part of the country, and they literally
In the
quote
world?
in the world,
Oh,
yes,
but
and in Burma.
Okay.
And
wow.
they've literally quoted that I saw this on Facebook, hence it's true.
No, because I say that as a joke.
Oh,
But
really?
that's genuine.
Yeah, it's. And we used to joke around and say, "Oh, if there's no photos or no pictures, it didn't happen."
Like
you didn't
if a
put
tree
it-
fell over in a forest, but no one heard it,
No one
did it
heard
make a
it.
noise?
Exactly, and it's
It's on
ironic.
Facebook.
And now we know, obviously, we can see there's so many channels out there. We've all seen how, I don't know if you've heard of Infowars.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Oh yes.
It's hilarious, and I don't know whether we want to call it accountability or whatever. I know Facebook has literally taken down pages or groups, and it's easy to talk about the American elections because it's very timely and there's a lot of information out there.
Yep.
But literally, there was a report on BBC. I actually saw it in the morning, where a lady in a certain state of the U.S. I can't really recall, but I do remember she started a Facebook page called "Stop the Steal."
Okay. Oh
Yeah.
Carry on.
Amassed, I think, 300,000 followers or whatever overnight, and Facebook took it down.
But then there was another group similar to that was started by somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and it was favouring Trump,
Mm-hmm.
and I think 50,000 people signed up.
Oh,
Because
really?
it was like a Trump, just for no reason at all.
There you
They
go.
followed it, but then the owner of the page changed the name of the group to something really comedy, which made everyone in the group sound very stupid
Oh, really?
because they didn't
There you go.
they didn't verify.
There you go.
But because then they joined up, they're like, "Oh, what happened? The group I was in now calls me a donkey," or something like that, because they didn't check who launched it
Who launched
and what the belief was
Like
behind
just
it.
clicking
or-
just because Johnny sent me an invite, I'm going to join it.
Exactly.
But that's so impulsive, and but again, I think it's just so complicated because everyone uses social media and accesses it with a different purpose and objective.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just don't think you have enough time to fact check everything as well. Like the article you're talking about, would you, when Twitter popped up that message saying, "Have you read the article?"
the Iron Man, the Down syndrome.
the Iron Man one.
Yeah.
Some people would just say, just forget it. It's not worth the bother. But some would actually say, okay, let me actually read it. You know.
Well, you know what? And this is me. This is terrible because we're talking about this and maybe positioning ourselves as
Mhm.
people who definitely would fact check
Yeah.
everything before we go through. But I still didn't read the CNN article.
Okay.
But I took a screenshot of the warning and I shared that on LinkedIn and
There you
Twitter
go. There
and
you go.
said, what a great feature this is from Twitter.
Right.
Because they've been doing some great fact checking. I love the fact they've been taking down Trump tweets.
I know there are.
I love it.
But one
Twitter
could,
is going up in my
yeah,
estimation.
but I guess one could always argue there's other the people on the other side of the table who could just say, why are you picking on our guy?
And then there's
Why not?
well, it's the free speech.
Yes.
And
yeah.
and that's also what I've been apparently studying about
Yeah.
in my course. But I can't go into that because I really need to
I
read
think
up
the
on it.
only way would be to start educating people. I know you can't educate everyone. It's very difficult. See, there's different varies and different factors in terms of controlling this. I think what the UAE government has been very good at doing in this part, obviously in the country over here, is there's obviously the fact that you can stop people from doing it because the laws are in place. Obviously, there's a bit of there's the psychological term, the negative reinforcement, I guess. That's the term you use.
Yeah.
That if you put out something wrong or if you quote something which is false and you spread it around, especially when we were having the COVID-19 lockdowns,
Yep.
you would be fined or you would be jailed.
Yeah.
That's a great way to...
Well, you got the carrot and the stick.
Yes. True.
And this is awful, but I think that humans do respond very well to a stick.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to get hurt with
We're
that.
wired that way.
It's
We just-
awful. It's
yeah.
awful. I mean, you know, we can be as fluffy and lovely and hippie as we like, but at the end of the day, and I shouldn't say this because I'm not a father,
Uh-huh.
but when I was growing up, my parents didn't hit me.
Okay.
Maybe I remember being hit 3 times
Okay.
as a child,
Uh-huh.
maybe 4.
Uh-huh.
But
Remember that time.
but the threat was there.
Yes.
So I knew where the line was.
Right.
So I grew up what I think was a good boy.
Yep.
And I'm not. I mean, my parents they raised me, I think, very well, and you know, to be a good person. But it was because they made that line
Mm-hmm.
quite clear. And I think, like you said, I think the UAE has done a great job of that.
Mm.
And the new laws that were announced, which we should do an episode on.
Yes.
We're a bit late now, obviously. But they brought out these new laws which clarify even more
True.
different laws along, inheritance, marriage, divorce, and all these different things.
Mhm.
Which makes it a lot easier for...
Yeah, people have a framework. It's always
Exactly.
good. We as humans are very indulgent, but we're like sheep, most of the times as well.
I remember the England football team. It was when the Italian manager came in. I think it was after Sven-Goran Eriksson. Fabio Capello
Okay.
came in,
Mhm.
and he said footballers, and I don't know if he said they're like sheep, but he said footballers need clear rules.
I think you said the right thing.
And everybody's the same. If you've got the framework, then you can go from it. I mean, another great example is Shakespeare. He wrote the sonnets.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the biggest fan of them, but they're
Mhm.
apparently quite good.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a very clear structure.
Yep.
Was it 10 syllables and what have you? And wrote some amazing works of art. All of his work was
Yeah.
in this 10 syllables and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
He had a structure, and he worked within that and created genius.
And it's always good to give them define the framework, establish the structure, and then let them
Learn the
go.
basics. This is what my
Yeah.
wife tells me in the kitchen.
Oh,
Learn
she
the
does?
recipe,
All right.
learn what works and what doesn't, and then get creative.
How's that coming along?
Well, I'm not getting creative just yet, so,
Okay, still-
so that's fine.